Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in congratulating the Walter Camp Football Foundation Distinguished American Len Dawson.
Wow. Where do I start? I'll start with Morton Anderson over here. I wondered why he would spend a lot of time with me last night. This guy's old. He's talking about being old, so he said, hang around me. He said, boy, it's nice to be around you, Len. Can I get together with you some other time? Because you're older than I am. I'll tell you what, this guy was a great kicker. And 25 years in the NFL, mister. That is something special. Morton and I hope to see you in Canton, Ohio. Tim Brown, what a great player and a great individual. I've been in broadcasting for over 40 years. For the last 10 years that I was quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs, I was a sports anchor of a television station, anchoring the 6 and 10 o'clock news, and also had 4 radio shows a day. I was the #1 draft choice, but my signing bonus was $2,000, gents. I mean, you're in hog heaven right now. I get off practice at 5:30, and I was on the 6 o'clock news. And we won the championship in 1966, went to the first Super Bowl, but we lost to the Green Bay Packers. The next year, we were kind of out of it at the end of the season. People were saying, well, it's no wonder your quarterback's spending too much time on television. And I said, let me explain a couple of things to you. Number one, I don't spend a lot of time there because I have a producer who puts it together, unlike what you have to do it yourself. And I'm there a short period of time. And secondly, at least you know where I am at 10 o'clock at night. So this is a real treat for me, a real pleasure. I've known about Walter Camp. I'm of the age, I'm 73, we'll be 74 coming a couple of months. And so I remember the Walter Camp All-American teams from way back. I've been involved in football. Now, if you go back to, junior high school, 60 years. In professional football as a player and also a broadcaster of games for over 50 years. So I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot of changes. And the game today has changed a great deal. Who would have thought that you'd be throwing 50 passes a game, Colt, 30 years ago? I wouldn't have. George Blanda was the first guy that threw a ball 50 times in a game, and I said, this is unheard of. And Joe Namath did it later on. I was a passing quarterback, but Hank Stram was a running coach because he wanted to establish that running game. And I might add that Hank Stram had a great deal to do with what I have been able to accomplish in football because I was the #1 pick of the Steelers. There 3 years, traded to the Browns, was there 2 years. I started 2 games in 5 years. Never played 2 weeks in a row for any period of time, except Morton, holding. I was holding for the kickers, and I've held for 2 of the two kickers are in the Hall of Fame. Lou Groza at Cleveland, and the guy that he mentioned, Jan Stenerud, for the Kansas City Chiefs. And so I'm very proud of that. So I know a little bit about the game. The game has changed. The thing that I really liked in my era, the quarterbacks called the plays. We didn't look over to the sidelines, see what they're doing. And Chase, I watch you guys with Missouri. You're looking there, then you get under center, then you go look again, for whatever reason that is, before you get the play going. So how can you be a leader when you never get into a huddle? You get into a huddle, you can ask people, what can you do? And for all the offensive linemen who hope to get into the next level, let me assure you that the most important thing you have to do is protect the quarterback because he's going to be a key guy in the professional football. But we had a guy named Fred Arbanis. Chase, you may know Fred, was a tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs out of Michigan State, by the way, an All-American tight end, great blocker, a guy that took pride in being able to block, and he was a tough guy. If you said, this guy's really tough, he'd say, he's got to prove it to me. Well, we played Denver one game, and we were way ahead. Denver didn't have very good personnel in those days. We were way ahead, and so I was thinking about calling the play, getting it over with, and worry about where the team party was going to be after the game. Well, Denver had a player by the name of Bud McFadden, who was a defensive tackle, and he was lethal. He had his left forearm flipper, and the first thing he did was whack that offensive lineman on the head with the idea of knocking him out, or at least his head would be ringing for 4 or 5 days after the game. Fred was a tight end, never had a chance to block him, so he comes back in the huddle to me all excited. He said, Lenny, McFadden's playing defensive end, not defensive tackle. I said, so I'm sure he'll do a fine job there, Fred, so what, you know? He said, I've never had a chance to block him. I want a shot at him. I said, don't take my word for it. Ask the guys who have to block him. He's tough. You don't want any part of him. He said, Lenny, let me explain something to you. Either I get a shot at Bud McFadden, or I'm going to take a shot at you. Well, as a quarterback, you generally, get this information from your players and decide whether it's of value or not. I decided, this guy's serious. So I said, all right, you got it. Red Right X, 54, Mike Baxo, which is a basic off-tackle player with a tight end blocks down on the defensive end, who was going to be this Bud McFadden. The fullback kicks out the linebacker, the guard pulls through the hole, the halfback follows him through the hole, and my job is to hand off and get the hell out of the way. So I called the play, and I looked over there, and Mike Garrett was tackled for about a 4-yard loss, and the guy that made the tackle, Bud McFadden. I thought it was over. And Fred he's more excited, came back and said, hey, Lenny, run that again. I said, what the hell are you talking about? We lost 4 yards. No, I know, I'm just nervous. He said, I missed him. He said, but he's nothing. He said, run it again. I said, Fred, I'm not running it again. I'm going the other way. We'll get this game over with. Get out of here. He said, you remember the proposition I gave you a minute ago? I said, yes. He said, well, it still stands. He was serious. I said, okay, who would think that I'd be dumb enough to call the same dumb play 2 times in a row? So you got it, Red Right X, 54 Mike Baxo, but I'll change the count. We'll go on 1. So he got it, and I handed off and got out of the way, and I heard this scream over here on my right side, and I looked over, and Fred was coming around. He was looking out the ear hole of his helmet. His eyes were glazed, his nose was cut, and he grabs and shakes me and said, if you ever listen to me again about what play to call, I'm really going to kick your butt. Great game that we have, football. It's changed, and the players are bigger, stronger, faster, better coached, better equipment, better everything, and it shows. Watching some of the video up there with these young guys, making the catches and runs and the things that they were doing is phenomenal, what type of athletes they are. And I, first of all, want to congratulate you, like the rest of the gentlemen, for your being here this evening and what you've accomplished, and hopefully a great deal more as the years go by. And I think that to go back to what Tim was saying, it's no secret how you're successful. You work at it, and you do what's right. And if you do that, you got an opportunity to accomplish things, and you got to feel right. You got to do what's not what's good for this or that. Do what is right, and then you can become successful. Once again, I want to thank the Walter Camp Committee for giving me this great honor. This is a hell of an honor to me. You do things just because you feel the need to do it, and you do them to help other people. And I think these young men back here, they get into professional football, or whether they don't get into professional football, hopefully they'll bear that in mind, that there are less fortunate people out there than us. I looked at the names who have received this award, but then I saw the New York City Fire and Police Department for what they did for 9/11. We're in the entertainment business. And we're in the entertainment business. We're not taking, concerned about our lives out there. We can get hurt, yes. But when you look at these people who went in risking their lives to help other people, that's what is really important. Once again, I will treasure this award. I want to thank you very much for coming here. It's the first time I've been to this area, but it's not going to be the last. But it might not be at this time of year. How about spring? But I go. Thank you very much.